celebrating the International Women's Day, and in this case, International Women's Month. And we'll be talking about women in technology. Now, today, a persistent gender gap in digital access keeps women from unlocking technology's full potential. Their underrepresentation in STEM education and careers remains a major barrier to their participation in tech design and governance. And the pervasive threat of online gender-based violence, also coupled with a lack of legal recourse, often forces them out of the digital spaces that they do occupy. Now, there's a growing movement of women in tech, and they're changing the face of technology, like it or not. Women are becoming more involved in every aspect of a tech world, from coding to leading companies, you name it. And there are many reasons for this trend, but one thing is clear. Women in tech are making a big impact. Now, talking about women in tech, I am excited to introduce the guest I have for you today on the show that will be joining me to have this conversation. And I would like to introduce my guest without further ado. Now, joining me first is my guest. She'll be joining online today. I have Professor Nnenna Ifeanyi Ajufo, a professor of technology law, University of Bradford, United Kingdom. Thank you so much for joining me, Prof.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me as well.
My pleasure. All right, and also with me in the studio is Naomi Olabayo, and she happens to be from my place. We just found out. So, I'm a little bit biased, and I'm blushing. But anyways, Naomi Olabayo is an Agile IT project manager and Scrum Master in Nigeria. Thank you so much, Naomi, for joining us.
Thank you too for having me. Blessings. Great meeting you.
It's good to meet you too. Well, it's safe to say Happy International Women's Day, since we're extending it throughout the rest of the month. So Happy International Women's Day and International Women's Month to both of you.
Thank you.
All right, let's have this conversation, ladies. I'm going to start with you, Professor Nnenna. What do you think the importance of the International Women's Day and month for celebrating the women is? Why do you think that it's so important to set aside this time, the month of March, and a specific day to celebrate the women across Africa and the world at large?
Thank you so much. I'm very passionate about the issue of women, and I may sound a bit, very biased, but I think women hold a very special place in society. Women have usually been seen as the vulnerable ones, and it's important as society is advancing on the basis of equality to particularly set out a day to celebrate women. I find that society has sort of been prejudiced in the terms of elaborating the efforts of women in the growth and advancement of society. If you look at the African perspective, there is usually an approach towards diminishing the efforts that women are making in society. And of course, this is because global inequalities will always lead to inequalities in other aspects. And so when you find the, vast inequality when it comes to gender, it would always be elaborated in many parts. And so this effort at advancing women in terms of establishing a particular day, International Women's Day, is very important. But one thing I want to emphasize is that this year is peculiarly very important because it focuses on innovation and technology for gender equality. I think we've gone beyond the usual traditional discussions of, women equality, women empowerment. Now we're looking at an age where women are stepping up in terms of the benefits that ICTs and technology is making available for women to take up spaces that, they've been hindered from taking before. So this year in particular is very special for many of us because particularly the United Nations has tagged it the Year of Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality, and looking at gender and technology change and education in the digital age for gender equality and empowerment for all women and girls. So this makes it very special.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Professor Nnenna. Well said. Now, I would also like for us to look at it from this angle, and that's talking about the level of awareness. Naomi, now I would like to ask your own opinion, regardless of the fact that we have a whole month and a day dedicated to celebrate the women across the world. do you think that the level at which the gender equality is being pushed, the fight for gender equality is pushed, is enough? And that's talking about how well people know to do the right thing when it comes to gender equality, how well people know to treat the other gender. I mean, regardless of the International Women's Day, a lot of people just say that. They don't necessarily mean it. So do you think that the level at which this gender equality is pushed is enough?
Right, thank you. So I guess it's a good time to be a woman. I love the energy we're getting from the society in terms of gender equality, but I do feel like we need more women to advocate for women. We do not have that support system just yet. So we are not yet there, but it's a work in progress. So I would say that we need more, systems to be put in place to create enough awareness. And it's a good time to, push this message because, of course, the technology, we're in the era of technology, and that's just an amazing time to be in.
All right. Thank you so much, Naomi, for that. Now, before we go further, I mean, we're talking about women in tech and we're talking about the International Women's Day in general. So we would like to know what the youths out there think. Don't forget, this is still a youth program and we're talking about the women, we're talking about the girl child and how it affects the youth in general. So we want to know what they think. And we have, some clips from people who had a thing or two to say about the International Women's Day. So let's take a look at that and we will continue this conversation on the back end.
We used to think that tech is meant for a particular gender, making us, overlook and neglect the power of the girl child. But I want to encourage every African girl child out there to leverage on tech because it will help in, overcoming discrimination. It will help in achieving equality, well-being, and participation in decisions that can help in improving the quality of their lives and the quality of their future communities.
I am here to encourage every African girl to go into tech. Reason being is that society thinks that it's only the male gender that can go into tech, but that's wrong. The world is revolving and everything is changing, everything is becoming tech, everything has to do with tech in the world. So everybody, not only the female but also male gender have to go into tech. And also there are different aspects of tech. You don't have to know coding to be able to go into tech. There's graphic design, there are different levels to it. And aside from that, there's money in tech. You can be at home and just work on your laptop and then boom, you get your money. So I'm going to encourage every lady, every young woman, every adult, every gender, but most especially female, don't just sit around. Also try to make your fingers work and be into tech. Thank you.
I work on social media platforms and this is a form of technology that has helped businesses, helped in marketing, and if I can do this, you can also do this. So technology is not for selected set of people, it is for everybody, and don't be left behind in the world. As the world is advancing, you should also advance because we are looking at inclusion for women regardless of differences. Remember, digital all includes you and it includes me. Stay digital.
I think when it comes to the tech industry, there is no gender bias. No area is gender based. All you have to do as a female out there looking to get into tech is to get tech clarity, ask questions. There are those who have gone ahead of you, ask them questions. And when you're done with that, choose a skill that is best for you. Choose a skill that aligns with your purpose. And if online training is your thing, you could hop on Udemy, Udacity, Coursera, LinkedIn, and get certified. But if that doesn't work for you, if you're someone like me who likes physical training and one-on-one interaction, you could look for a tech hub around you, and get started with your tech journey. And when you're done with that, don't say, oh, I am someone without an experience, I just finished. Start building projects, start working on building your portfolio, and you would see how that would catapult you to your next level. I am here to encourage you today. If you're, feeling laid back, if you're out there confused on how to start, I want you to ask questions and get started on your tech journey because the future is tech.
Well, Well, the future indeed is tech. And I like what the third speaker said. We are, or stay digital, something about that. And, I like the enthusiasm with which they spoke. But anyways, this is still Fafanua Africa, and we are still talking about women in tech. I still have my amazing and beautiful guests with me. And so we're going to continue the conversation. Now, Professor Nina, what is your take generally on women in technology? I mean, looking at the fact that this year's theme is centered around innovation and technology, what do you think about it?
Impressive, and you heard it from the young women as well who talked about the spaces they are filling in. I think it's very important to bring women into technology more and increasingly because of the creative solutions and the greater potential for innovation that meets not just women's needs, not just to promote gender equality, but the benefits for the social and economic development of society. Let me give you an instance. Last year, the UN Women's Gender Snapshot report actually stated that the continuous exclusion of women from the digital world has so far shaved the world of $1 trillion from the gross domestic product of low and middle income countries. And that by 2025, the amount will rise to $1.5 trillion if women are not strategically included. Now, in 2020, the African Union put forward the African Union Digital Transformation Agenda, 2020 to 2030, and it particularly looks at how Africa will be transformed digitally. But unfortunately, I've not seen the mainstreaming of gender in that issue. But in terms of, before I go forward, I just want to say we need to look at this from three contexts. When we think about women in digital technology, women in technology, there are three aspects. First of all, the women, the girls who are championing the advancement of transformative technology and digital education, so to say. But also importantly, we need to underscore the existing digital gender gap, which remains, and it is widening economic and social inequality. But we also have to emphasize the importance of protecting women in digital spaces and online, because again, the problems with cybersecurity issues in relation to women is also hindering women in tech. And so, but in general, we also have to streamline this to an African context, because African perspectives in relation to ICT issues, digital issues, stems from patriarchy. And it's causing more of discrimination and disempowerment of women. So much needs to be done in terms of encouraging more women participation, awareness, which you talked about in the beginning, but importantly, ensuring participation through various means, to see that we continue to take advantage of tech in Africa to allow us leapfrog into stages of benefits for social and economic empowerment in Africa.
All right, Dr. Nina, let me quickly jump on something you said, and I want us to have that conversation. Now, you talked about the fact that it's important for women to go into tech, but not just for gender equality, not just to promote gender equality. Now, it seemed to be like, I mean, I could be wrong and I stand corrected, but for example, the Vox Pop we just heard. Now, the first two speakers made mention of something, relating to women having or needing to go into tech to prove that we can do it. Doesn't it sound like we're getting the wrong ideas? So do we just go into tech because we want to prove a point? Or do we go into tech because we're passionate about it and we want them to accept that we can do it as much as the men can do it?
Yeah, I think it's all saying the same thing. To prove we can do it, because when we say we can do it, then there will be more spaces for women. And in particular, in terms of policy making, the policy making in relation to digital transformation, digital technologies is not gender neutral. Absolutely not. And this is because there is this bias, or there is this assumption that this is a role that is just for men. And it's created that gap. When you think about the laws, the policies, the policy makers themselves, if you go into solutions for women in terms of cybersecurity, sometimes you hear pedestrian examples of people going to the police to argue or make cases for gender harassment. These people do not understand. So we need more women to address women issues. And really, I agree with her that, yeah, gender equality is important, but sometimes I think it's become too stereotypical and still a bit mundane when we say it's just for gender equality. We need to emphasize what aspects of gender equality do we mean. And this has a lot to do with not just empowerment, but even advancing society. Yes, we need to go into spaces more and more for society, for men to understand that we need those spaces. Not because of charity. Sometimes you listen to election campaigns, we want more women, as if it's charity, as if you're doing women a favor. But in actual sense, women are not given these opportunities. So yes, we need to also show we can do it. We need to highlight those women that are making a difference in the continent. Let's become change makers. Let's become policy makers. Let's sit at the helm of affairs. Let women be in criminal justice sectors to emphasize cybersecurity for women. Let women make policies about internet penetration and how you need to reach women. Let women make policies about digital technology and making sure women can access them for economic empowerment.
All right, very well said. Thank you so much, Professor Nina. Now, Naomi, I would also like to get your opinion on this. How exactly would you rate the statistics of women involvement, especially in tech in recent times? I mean, we know for a fact that for the longest time, women have not exactly been in the tech space, especially in Africa. But how would you rate the statistics now?
So I would say that in terms of statistics, we are not yet there, honestly, because we can clearly see the gap. And like the Vox Pop and the ladies that spoke about, trying to prove a point, is way beyond trying to prove a point. Now, there are different roles in tech, and a lot of people need this awareness, really strong awareness, and a change and a shift in the mindset of women that you can do it. Now, I'm going to take a case study of prior to when I transitioned into tech fully. I was more of an observer, and I did say to myself a couple of times, I'm not sure this is built for me. And again, like what Prof said, it's majorly the gap and then the narrative that this is a male-dominated industry. So when I decided to eventually transition fully, I realized that I was looking out for people who could share support and insight on how the journey really is. And some of the people that were in my circle were all male. And having those conversations with these people made me realize that we do have a long way to go. And eventually, getting into tech, I realized that there is a role for everyone where you could leverage your existing skills and just scale up and be a part of a technological change.
All right, Naomi, I would also like to ask, I mean, all the time that you were considering going into tech fully, did it ever cross your mind that because this is a male-dominated industry, I don't think I can go through with it? Did it ever cross your mind to just quit because you feel like you won't be able to live up to expectations because it's a male-dominated industry?
A couple of times, honestly. So like I spent about 4 years just thinking about what it would look like if I was a good fit to get into the tech industry. But one of the mindset shift for me was just taking that move and just, I had a conversation with myself and I'm like, I'm going to try this out and see if I don't pull through it, I'll know that I tried, and taking that step and, getting into tech. And I realized, there's a seat for me here. There's a place, and I feel really excited and empowered to be a part of technology in this time and age. Because I not only feel empowered, I feel like it's that time where young women need to rise up to the occasion and see that, they can push themselves and, do great.
All right, thank you so much for that. And I want to use this opportunity to thank you both. I mean, you both have spoken really extensively and very spot on, talking about women in tech and given reasons why the government and generally Africa and the world can do better in gender equality when it comes to technology, women in technology. So once again, thank you so much, my guest. Thank you, Professor Nina Ifeanyi Ajufo, Professor of Technology Law, University of Bradford, United Kingdom. And of course, thank you to my in-house guest, Naomi Olabayo, Agile IT Project Manager and Scrum Master here in Nigeria. I really appreciate your time and I look forward to seeing you on another conversation, on another episode of this program. Thank you.
Thank you so much.